Here we go, boys. All right. Overall, there were 1,000 players. This is what we call, there's actually almost 1,100 players. This is what we call a very busy weekend. Very busy weekend, boys. There was only 10 tournaments as well. So that's an average of like over 100 players each tournament. There were 6,668 games played of Warhammer 40k. That's a lot of data right there. Holy shit, man. So that's the headlines. Now, Deathwatch, our bottom, 36% win rate, only 7 players, dead faction. Nothing to cover there. Let's move swiftly on to Genestealer Cults. Genestealer Cult are definitely in a bad way. 34% win rate with only 12 players. For a faction that has just got their codex, that is really bad. I mean, Deathwatch, who are a dead faction, Genestealer Cult have only got 5 players more than them. I think it's pretty clear to all there's a couple of things fundamentally wrong with Genestealer Cult. You can't have a mechanic like Cult Ambush because you're pricing their units like they're gonna come back, and often they don't come back. And if someone has a hot streak and they keep coming back, then it's not fair. Because someone has potentially played a 2,000 point game with 3,000, 4,000 points. As crazy as it sounds, that's how many they could be getting back. Cult Ambush has gone through many different iterations over its existence. And I think GW's they've never refined Cult Ambush. They've always completely rewritten it. And I think GSC just needs a rewrite. The codex, this is a bad codex. But I was hoping for a rewrite of Cult Ambush. We didn't get it, and as a result, we've ended up with a book which is it's a few weeks old, and yeah, that just needs to. And them being that dead is tragic. Now, what little data we can glean from this is that Biosantic Brood Surge seems good, 50% win rate, and actually someone actually managed to go like. So someone managed to go 4-1 with Biosantic Brood Surge, which is good. But there's only the other person that ran Biosantic Brood Surge went 1-4. So it can't. So there's a huge disparity there. 2 people ran the same detachment, and one went 4-1 and one went 1-4. Fuck, man. Outlander Claw looks good, but bear in mind there's only 1 player, so it's hard to tell how good it really is. Xeno Creed actually had 3 players running it, and they had a 41% win rate. Not terrible. Brood Brother, oh no, my boys! Brood Brother Detachment, 29% win rate, and only 2 players. I maintain that the Brood Brother Detachment is cool as fuck, but I will not maintain that I think it's good. I think the problem with Brood Brother Detachment is you kind of want. I tried to build a Brood Brother army list, and I still want to try and run a Brood Brother army list. And fuck it, I might even run one in a battle report this week. Maybe not this week, maybe next week. But my point is, I still want to run it. But when I tried to build my list, I was like, I don't feel like I've got enough of anything. Because the GSC shit's quite expensive. You know, it's quite expensive. Brood Brother Auxiliary, I think, is a very, very tough one. I want to get it right, but right now it looks pretty tricky. Host of Ascension actually had the most players, but had a 17% win rate. 4 players were able to win 4 games out of 23 between them. Like, best case scenario, they all won 1 game. Most likely case scenario, someone went 0-5. It's mad. So Genestealer Cult, the fluff, the flavour is there, but unfortunately, no one has turned up to the buffet. Moving swiftly on, we have got Space Marines. Space Marines doing really badly. That makes me sad. That makes me sad. Space Marines having 47 players. Like, there's a huge Space Marine community right now. Stormland Sky turned up. Sorry, Stormland Sky turned up, which is great. Always good to see Stormland Sky, although he did lose every fucking game. Like an absolute Chad. Jez and his Anvil, Jez of Anvil Siege Force, as him and his mate are still going strong. And they actually won 7 out of 15 games. That's not so bad. But it really looks like there are 2 detachments that have done well this week. You've got Gladius Task Force, which has done well because it had 24 people playing it. 24 people took Gladius Task Force. And they only had a 33% win rate, and no one, not a single person out of 24 players. Over half of the Space Marine players ran Gladius. No one went 4-1. That is insane. That is actually insane. Gladius is doing incredible stuff in other Marine chapters, but with basic bitch Space Marines, it really do go down. Turns out, if you are a Dark Angel, Gladius is broken. If you're just a regular ass Space Marine, if you're Jimmy Space and his Marines, too damn buku. Firestorm Assault Force had a good week. 6 players managed to win 50% of their games. 1 person managing to go all the way. Ironstorm Spearhead still clinging in there. And I'm telling you now, if Gladius doesn't turn this franchise around, we're going to see everyone jump back on Ironstorm and Firestorm. It's the 2nd week in a row when they've been, like, bad. And it's the 2nd week in a row when they've had a shitload of players. Are they suffering from guard syndrome? Where people jump on it, but they have to lose like 10 games? Or do Space Marines need their customary 2nd codex sooner rather than later? The Adeptus Custodes! Yes! 42% win rate. Horrendous win rates across all of the detachment. 43%, 38%, 31 smegging percent. Like 2 people took Talons of the Emperor and won 4 out of 13 games. 3 people took Orc Champions and won 8 out of 21 games. 43 motherfuckers took Shield Host and they only managed to get a 43% win rate. Now, 2 people did go 4-1, but that's a lot of people not going fucking 4-1. That's a lot of people going 3-2. And realistically, it's a lot of people going 2-3 when you look at that win rate, right? It's like the vast majority of people that took Custodes went 2-3, and like 2 people went 4-1 and nudged the needle a little bit. I have been reliably informed that the list that is running around, that's doing the rounds with Custodes now, remember they only need 1 good build to start dominating, is like the Caladius tanks and the Venatari, which I believe are the Birdmen Assemble! So Forge World. Finally, it's all about Forge World. I can understand why that list would start struggling. Those Caladius tanks, they were doing the rounds before the Custodes Codex, and they were doing well. Double Tonk was doing well, right? But the meta has moved on. The lay of the land has shifted, and there is multiple other factions out there right now which will fucking fill that in. I mean, okay, if you're taking the Venatari, right, they're the guys that I feel like the Venatari, the Birdmen, like they're as good in combat as the next Custody, but we're not talking like they're as good as like Wardens or Custodian Guard in there, because I feel like they've got like guns. I don't know, I feel like they've got some shooting. I can't help but think that a little squad of 3 or whatever, have 3 or 5 of them, however many you get, is going to get filled in. It's going to get anally fisted by a squad of like 10 Death Company. The Birdmen are going to be like, Birdmen, assemble! And the Death Company are going to be like, ugh, bam, 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 or more like, bam, 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 bam. That's what I feel like is going to happen. I think there's and World Eaters again. Oh, you want to flap around? The World Eaters is going to go and just fucking kill you. I think the problem, if custodians are going down that route, nah, man. And there's plenty of armies out there. I don't know. Like I said, I'm sort of operating from a slight position of ignorance on what the Birdmen can do, but I really, really don't feel like. I feel like there's just plenty of factions that can handle custodians right now. Custodians playing to guard. Every vehicle's got damage 3 or better. You know, if you play into start playing into armies like Dark Angels, and like they're gonna beat you in combat because they've got like Blade Masters, they've got Deathwing Knights and everything. Yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but the days of custodians just walking up to people and being like, mine. It's crazy it might sound, custodians players, start taking some fucking shields, guys. Could be totally wrong. But there's a huge difference in a model with 4 wounds and a model with 3 wounds. And Wardens, obviously, they're an exception because they can pop a once per game Giga Feel No Pain, right? The tanks are interesting. Again, if we get into a firefight, your tank versus my Rogue or Dawn, right? Now, of course, we're looking at this very specifically through the lens of guard, but I think I need to play that build to respect that build, because right now I'm looking at that idea of a list and I'm like, I ain't seeing it. I ain't feeling it, and clearly 41 other players weren't feeling it either, because only 2 people managed to make that work. So custodians, truthfully, I hope it's just a bad week for you guys, because you don't want to be on the bottom. And clearly there's a lot of people that think the faction has play, but running around flappy birdmen and floaty tank. Next we got Dark Angels. Should be pretty quick. 39 players. Wow, that is a bit of a population boom, right? I think pre-Dark Angels with Gladius that their numbers were dwindling somewhat. Now, Unforgiven Task Force, still no one's taking it. Ironstorm Spearhead, no one's taking it anymore. Win rate's good, but no one's taking it. Very few people are taking it. Vanguard, interesting win rate, but no one's taking it. First Company Task Force, no one's taking it. The big ones seem to be the Inner Circle Task Force, which 14 players took the Inner Circle Task Force, and they got a 30% win rate. That is abysmal. So it turns out that everyone who thinks that they should be taking their Deathwing Knights in the Inner Circle Task Force, guys, that's not, take exactly the same army, put it in a fucking Gladius. Because Gladius had 20 players and a 50% win rate, and 2 people went 4-1. Nice. So yeah, long story short, Dark Angels, Gladius, meta incoming. And the most fascinating thing about this for me is how powerful Gladius is here and how phenomenally dogshit Gladius is here. Really, really makes a difference. It's not about the detachment, it's about the units you can put in said detachment. Death Guard, another day, another Nurgle infested dollar. Death Guard doing alright. Some people might see them this far down the rankings, and but you know, when you put it into perspective, Death Guard had the same win rate as Eldar. Considering where Death Guard started at the edition, I think that's alright, you know, that's alright. That's a hell of a franchise turnaround for the Death Guard, yeah. Death Guard meta at the moment is somewhat in flux, because the whole idea of Mortarion Triple Plague Burst Crawler, that kind of list, it seems like it's probably on the way out, because Mortarion can't do his thing anymore. Plague Burst Crawlers are hitting on 4s now. I don't know exactly where Death Guard are pivoted to, but I've seen, looking around the tournaments, I have seen a variety. I've seen motherfuckers spamming Plague Mowers. I've seen motherfuckers taking loads of Plague Marines and Rhinos. My personal favourite, that one. And I've seen motherfuckers just trying a little bit of everything. But Death Guard are definitely in a little... I don't want to paint too rosy picture of the Death Guard. They lost their favourite combo, Mortarion Triple Plague Burst Crawler. And they lost their Nurglings for cheap objective doers as well. That is 2 big crutches that got kicked out from Death Guard. The fact that they have been able to hold on to a 45% win rate, I think, shows a disgusting level of resiliency by that community. The fact that we're seeing 45% win rate and 2 people able to go 4-1 with them is very, very impressive. Now we get to Eldar. 45% win rate. That is where they have been for a long time. As we've said, the Eldar situation is the same. Same shit, different day, holding pan. But there are a couple of notable things to mention. They've got a 45% win rate. 13% of their players, so 5 of them, were able to go 4-1 or better. And in fact, one guy actually won a tournament and they had 40 players, which is pretty much the same as the Custodes. Now, considering how nerfed that faction has been, the fact that we're still seeing phenomenal capability of going 4-1, the fact that we're still seeing a very, very steady win rate, 45% against an average of 46% is basically no fluctuation. And someone won a tournament with them. Send me off for the black ships. I did say this. I said Eldar are an army which will now go 4-1, and they're in a big event. They will tear up your local RTTs and they will tear up your local GTs. That hasn't changed at all. And occasionally they're going to win. They're going to win something big. So absolutely, I think Eldar. They are a faction that you should not dismiss. And any other faction that have been nerfed as hard as them, well, they'd be ending up in an Agents of the Imperium Codex, wouldn't they? Too soon. But the point is, they'd be a dead faction. Eldar still deserve your respect. You're not going to games against them. Think you're going to walk all over them. Do that, they will outplay you, outscore you, and beat you. Next, we have Orks. Orks. Orks are all over the place. Overall, they've got a 46% win rate, which is okay. For them, it's bad. For many factions, that's fine. That's decent. 10% of their players, roughly 10%, 5 out of 52, were able to go 4-1. They still have, despite how heavily they got nerfed, they still have 52 players. And in fact, I feel like that player count, it's down from its peak, but it seems to have recovered a little bit in comparison to some weeks. Maybe people jumped off the Orks for a bit, and maybe we're seeing people jump back onto Orks again. Now, we had one dude who did well with Cult of Speed, going 3-2, but it's quite a small sample size. Green Tide seems to be, in the win rates, making a bit of a return with a 56% win rate. And one person managed to go 4-1 with them, but there were only 4 people that played them. So it seems like Green Tide is a faction that you can go 4-1 with, but most people can't be bothered running the amount of models that you need to do it. Why run Green Tide and go 4-1 when you could run and paint all those models up when you could go with something else even better? Now, we then had Dread Mob, which had a 49% win rate. Dread Mob is something that Orc players have been trying to get work for a few weeks now, and we're starting to see the fruits of their labor. Now, they had a 49% win rate. One person was able to go 4-1 with them. Speaking of Warhorde, 46% win rate. One player went 4-1, and according to this, one player win. And I believe the event that they won. Now, whether it's Dread Mob or Warhorde, big thing is that Orks faction, which a lot of people had written off, not only did they win a tournament, but they won the tournament. The biggest tournament of the weekend. This was Tacoma Open. This was a 438 player 8-round tournament. Now, the event broke into pods after the first few rounds, which can sometimes help. Like every time in the pod system, we have multiple 7-1 placings in the lower pods as well. Now, what I find interesting here is Orks won, which is very big. But little side note, someone came 7th out of 438 players with Guard, going 6 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss. Wherever you are, buddy, you're a goddamn hero. Good effort. It may have been that it says on BCP it was Warhorde, but maybe the guy didn't fill his attachment in. Yeah, however you slice it, boys, Orks won the biggest tournament of the weekend. Will we see people jump back on the army? Maybe. I suspect that the nerfing that Orks got was a bit of a culture shock, and people scattered to the four corners of the globe, four corners of the meta. I think the results are starting to come. Some people have stuck with them. The results have started to come in, and maybe we're going to see people return to Orks. I can only hope so, because Orks are a cool faction. And the one of those factions that can get away with being a little busted for a little while, Orks are Orks. Then we have AdMech. Wow, wow, wow. Who would have thought that AdMech would have a 45% win rate? And every week now be pulling down double digits of players. It ain't a lot of players, but it's still a vast improvement from where they were. It was only 6 months ago that we were going multiple weeks in a row, 0 AdMech players. Now we're consistently going double digits. So I think GW does deserve, even if they took the time about it, does deserve a little bit of praise for fixing AdMech. Regarding what's doing the work for AdMech though, interestingly, it's that the meta still hasn't changed. Cybernetic cohort, we had 3 people run it, only a 41% win rate. Radzone Core, we had 1 person win it. Now, 1 person run it. They did get a 60% win rate, but it's just an anomaly because it's 1 person going 3 and 2 basically. Explorer to Manipul, brave, beautiful bastard who ran that. He went 1 and 6. He did not have a good weekend. But the big one is Skitarii Hunter Cohort. It was Skitarii Hunter Cohort in the index. It is Skitarii Hunter Cohort when the codex dropped, and now that the AdMech have had a rewrite, it's still Skitarii Hunter Cohort. Skitarii Hunter Cohort does a lot of things that Guard does. They've got a lot of their own tricks, don't get me wrong, but fundamentally it's quite a lot of dudes sitting on objectives whilst quite a lot of firepower blows people up. If you take that concept and make it better and then give it better rules, it's going to get better. A dude won a tournament with Skitarii Hunter. 10 people ran it. 10 out of 15, that's a lot. That's 66% even. 1 person won a fucking event with it. What I find interesting is AdMech have turned around, and clearly more people are dusting off that old AdMech armies. But we haven't seen, considering that a lot of people are saying now AdMech are really good, they're tournament winning, we've not seen a massive explosion in their player numbers. What we've seen is them go from being a dead faction to basically having the same player numbers they always had post 9th edition madness. Is this just old school AdMech players returning, like I sort of suspect it is, or are we seeing people jumping on the AdMech and it's just taking a little while for them to build up? I think if the AdMech player numbers hover around 15 to 20 or 10 to 20 we should say, I think that's basically just the faction healing, but I'd like to see the player numbers go above 20 before I would say that the player base is growing. Moving on, we have got Chaos Space Marines. I look forward to the Chaos Space Marine entry every week because there's so many different things. So starting off, we had a 46% win rate. 7 players went 4-1 or better. In fact, 5 players went 4-1. 2 players won events. But the big number here is 83 smegging players. That's got to be the most played faction of the weekend, right? That beats out Necrons. That's huge. Oh, it beats them by miles. Like 21 more players than Necrons. Holy shit, boys. That is, Peter Butchins, a lot of heresy. Woo-hoo-hoo. That is a phenomenal number of players, man. Absolutely phenomenal. You know what's interesting? You normally see like that number of players. Whenever we've seen that high number of players before, it was when like Necrons had like a 70% win rate, or Eldar had a 70% win rate, or Custodes would just dominate with that one single build. And what's really funny with Chaos is like there's 83 players and it's only a 46% win rate. What that says to me is that there are a lot of people jumping on that bandwagon, but a lot of people haven't quite yet made it work. However, I think if this number keeps going up, this number will start going up as well. Yeah, 100%. Now, diving into different detachments, Chaos Cult, 100% win rate. I love it. One dude. You know what? Every single week, one dude turns up with Chaos Cult and just beats the shit out of everyone. It's Chaos Cult Dude. We've had Stormlance Guy, we've got Jez of the Anvil Siege Force, and now we've got Cult Dude. So Cult Dude is here. He's won every game. 6-6, won a tournament. So the guy that won with Raiders, with Renegade Raiders, which everyone says is the better detachment, won a 63-player 5-round GT, which is very respectable, don't get me wrong. But the Cult Dude, where the fuck is he? Cult, someone won! LSO, 223 players, 6-round fucking super major right there. Indisputably now, Chaos Cult has proven itself to be the best attachment. I am going to take some credit here, guys. Not for the wins, and I'm fucking done diddly dick for wins for the Chaos Space Marines. I'm going to take some credit because when the Chaos Space Marine Codex came out, everyone saw this, and a lot of people were like, oh shit, they've ruined the cultists. And I looked at it and was like, there's a lot of layers here. So you can add this, to this, to this, to this. And you can make, I said, look at it through the lens of guard players, right? You take something basic and you take it to the fucking moon. And this is, what I love about this is it's not a one-off. Yeah, it's one dude who's done it. On average, this has a 71% win rate. I think Chaos Cults is the strongest one. My big question is, why are we seeing so few people running what has proven, must be 2 or 3 times now, to be the best attachment? Is it like Green Tide? It's the number of models. Is it like Green Tide, where it's like, look, it's just easier for me to win with Renegade Raiders. I only need like 45 Space Marines, like 5 tanks, and I can do the same thing. Because Renegade Raiders, 48% win rate, fine. 4 people going 4-1. 1 person winning a big GT, as we saw. Yeah, on average, it's got a 48% win rate, and it's got 44 players. So everyone's playing Renegade Raiders, and you can still win tournaments with Renegade Raiders. Chaos Cults is indisputably more powerful. Emil, 16 times 3 occurs Cults is a lot. Yeah. So basically, everyone knows it's the most powerful, but considering how much the meta changes and how quickly GW releases fixes, no one's really willing to buy into it unless they already have that many cultists. Interesting, isn't it? How people will choose to go for a slightly less powerful option if they can get it quicker, use it more readily, pilot it more easily, because it's not worth the time investment if your niche build is going to get nerfed into the ground. If you go Renegade Raiders, you're not as powerful now, but when the nerfs come out, you'll still be left over with a Chaos Space Marine army. If the nerfs come for Chaos Cultists, you're left with a niche army, which you might not be able to shift if you don't want to keep anymore. Real life impacting decisions. Saw it with AdMech, with the cost. Seen it with Chaos Cult again. People will take second best option if they think it'll be around for longer than 3 months. Pat Bound Zealots, 1 person went 4-1. They were actually quite popular, 12 people. So it seems like Pat Bound Zealots are still tickling some people's fancy. Bellhammer Siege Host, only 2 people ran it, but they managed to get the win rate up to 44%. Soulforged Warpack, 9 people ran it, but they tabled themselves before they could go 4-1. Veterans of the Long War, 12 people ran it, still not getting the results it wants. Deceptors, yeah baby! Alpha Legion, someone took Alpha Legion to the Tacoma Open and they went 3-8. Love this guy. Whoever you are, man, genuinely, whoever you are, you're my fucking hero. That is my favorite attachment by far, and you fucking went and did it, and you came away with 3 wins under your belt. My man, that is more than respectable, sir. And then we have Dread Talons. 2 people ran it, and between them, they managed to win a game. Say it after me, guys. If you make a detachment based on Battle Shock, you might as well have not made the detachment. Sorry, Warpforge. I have accepted sets of this shit, but I've accepted it's cool. I don't know, man. Just take those Dread Talons and make them Raiders, yeah? Just do it. I'm sorry, Warpforge. I'm only kidding, man. You do you. At the end of the day, who gives a fuck if it's good or bad, man? You just fucking, you play some games, you have some fun with it. Chaos Knights. 47% win rate. Each player contributed 1% to the win rate. 5 people actually went 4-1 with Chaos Knights, but no one managed to win a tournament. Now, the thing with Chaos Knights, the good news is that their win rate has recovered somewhat. Their player numbers seems to be on the up and up. And overall, the faction this week is heading in the right direction. It's showing some real signs of life. 11% of people that ran Chaos Knights managed to go 4-1. That's phenomenal. I think the big problem, the bad news with Chaos Knights is they still seem to be living in the shadow of Imperial Knights. Imperial Knights have got 51%. They're 4% higher. So Chaos Knights, you're going in the right direction, but you need to. The best way is through. And right now, you guys are going in the right direction. But if you're going to collect Knights, it still seems like Imperial Knights is the better option. Let's look at his Imperial Guard. So we have a 48% win rate this week. That is slightly above our average, but not enough really to start making a big deal out of it. What I will make a big deal out of is that we were on like 43% last week. So that is a 5% jump in 1 week. That's good. We also had 2 people that went 4-1. That's good. No one won a tournament this week. Whilst that's a little disappointing, I'm a little disappointed. What more than makes up for it is 65 smegging players. Yeah! The Guard is on a recruitment drive. That may make us 3rd most played faction. More Guard players than Necron players. More Guard players than World Eater players. That makes us the 3rd most popular faction. Only being beaten out by Tyranids by a single player, and only being beaten out by Chaos Space Marines. So we're on the podium for most played army. That is awesome. That is awesome. And this is the number here that I think is really the most telling of the health of a community. And what I'm seeing here is that, yeah, we only had a few people that managed to go 4-1. But that is a hell of a lot of people on average going 3-2 or 2-3. And that's a very respectable position to be in. Now, bear in mind, guys, that remember, we're only really week 2, week 3 of people running, maybe like week 4, but it's not a huge amount. Not a huge time has passed. We're only a few weeks in post-balanced data slate, right? We know that Guard, the win rate goes up over time because we know people get their reps in, they lose their first 10 games, they take their licks, and some people they don't, they play a few games of Guard and then they stroll down washout lane. And then, but the people that stick around they go from going 0-5 to 1-4, 2-3 to 3-2 to 4-1. Guard is an experience thing. Also, your collection needs time to mature. Guard is a marathon, not a sprint. And it's why you'll consistently see people going like 4-1. Every Guard never goes a week without someone going 4-1. Which I don't think, there's some factors that just don't do that, or is pretty much everyone doing that. DSC had 1 person do it. Deathwatch, no one do it. So, okay, we still have the potential to go 4-1. Although that's not a unique trait, to be fair. But I think the big thing is that the player numbers are on the rise. And when you see the player numbers on the rise, it tends to mean that the win rate is going to go up and down a bit. Every time we get a big influx of players, the win rate goes down because those people haven't lost the first 10 games. Over time, the new conscripts are whittled away and we're left with the hardened veterans. The win rate starts going up. What I think we're seeing with Guard, though, I'm not sure we're seeing a lot of top tier, S tier, super major winning players in the world jumping on Guard. I think we had that time. I think the people like David Gaylord, they did that. They proved what could be done with Guard. But I think those players have moved on to something else now. And appropriately, I think Guard is becoming a faction that is doing well with the everyman, with the average person on the street. You can get into this faction, There are so many different playstyles available to you. You'll find something that, even if it's not the most powerful, you just enjoy running. And for those people that do want to commit and become faction specialists, and are willing to play game after game competitively, practice and everything, you will eventually start pulling down those results. And a lot of potential, a lot of flexibility, but we're not the easiest faction to win with. There are other armies that are a little bit easier to pilot, a little bit easier to just smash fuck out of people with. But I think seeing so many people jump on the faction means that there are a lot of people out there that go, I think this faction has enough potential for me to be worth checking it out. That is good. But overall, I think that what I've been saying about Guard for a while now is true. I think you absolutely can win your local RTT with them. I don't think a week goes by we don't have people popping into this channel going, hey dude, hey Mordy, I won my first RTT. I'm like, well done mate. People coming to this channel going, I went 2-1 at my RTT. People coming in saying, hey, I just went like 4-1 at my first GT. Hey, I just won my first local GT. Like, Guard absolutely will win RTTs every weekend. Guard absolutely will win local GTs every week. Like, they will do that. Ones that aren't necessarily registered on BCP or not part of these stats, okay? But Guard will, and occasionally Guard will win something big. I think where we are in our metamorphosis right now is we're still in the fluctuation stage. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw the classic 42% win rate, but like 5 people go 4-1, and maybe someone wins an event with them. I think we're going to see that. I think it could go one of two ways. But I think if we have this many players jumping on and people are generally seeing the win rate go up, overall, I think Guard are really strong. As someone who's played Guard for a long time, until 10th edition, I'd go 3-2 with Guard, like 3-1-1 with Guard, like in 9th edition, I should say. And in 8th edition, I could go 4-1. And in 8th edition, I did go 5-0 one time and come second at a team tournament, similar to like what I did recently. But it wasn't until 10th edition where I think I really started being able to stand on my own 2 feet. I know I sound like a wank myself a little bit. I know I'm sounding a bit arrogant. My head's blowing up, boys. I don't mean it in that way. I think 2 things have happened in 10th edition. I have become a much more competitive player because for the last 2 years, I've just been going to tournaments like non-stop. So there's that. And not only have I become a more competitive player, I've become a much more experienced player. As much as I run meme lists, I also tend to run, like, for every meme list I run a cutthroat list, right? And the third thing is that I think I think myself as a player, I have grown. I've got a long way to go, but I've grown a bit. I think you can grow as much as you like as a player, and I think you can get a lot of experience, and that will allow you to maintain like a half decent win rate during terrible times. Like, I was able to maintain 50-60% win rate whenever, in 9th, when Guard like a 22% win rate on average. I think now if I was to sum this up, I feel like the faction is working with me rather than against me. And so as much as people sort of rag on Guard and as being like an index faction and all that kind of stuff, but I do quite like our index. And I just really hope that the Guard Codex, if it ever comes out, I hope it gives us options. Because the only thing that I'm really struggling with Guard at the moment, and this is lessened recently because Born Soldiers has updated, but I'm kind of getting a bit sick of having one detachment. That's why I'm so interested in things like Agents of the Imperium, so interested in things like Brood Brothers, because I'm just jonesing for another few detachments. So I'm really interested to see what happens with Guard in the future, but right now we are in a metamorphosis. Alright, so next we've got Grey Knights. 34 players is pretty good player numbers for Grey Knights. It is a busy weekend though, so naturally you'd see a slight increase in the raw player numbers. 48% win rate, very respectable. Similar to Guard, only a couple of people were able to go 4-1 with them. No one won any tournaments with them, kind of in line with their current average win rate. The Grey Knight meta at the moment, it's still Dread Knight spam. DW came in and whacked the Dread Knights in the nuts. But they didn't realise that they needed to hit the guy in the baby carrier, and all they did is get a big metallic clang between the Dread Knight's legs. It's still Dread Knight spam. It's same shit, different day. Not a huge amount has changed on the Grey Knight front. I think what a lot of people are going to be excited about is what does Agents of Imperium do for them. And Agents of Imperium, it's been announced now, so I imagine announced now, pre-order in 2 weeks. That's often how GW does it, right? They do an announcement, 2 weeks to a pre-order, 2 weeks you get your book. So a month from now, we should be talking about, I'm guessing, a month from now, 2 weeks to a month, depending on how quickly GW turns it around, we should be hearing about Grey Knights in Teleport Strike Force and Grey Knights in Ordo Malleus attachment, which is kind of cool. And this is, Grey Knight is one of those factions, it's kind of similar to what I mentioned with Guard, it's getting a bit stale. It's jumping around the Christmas tree, it's just jumping around. The Grey Knight meta has evolved over time. To be fair, it was purely jumpy, and now it's jumpy with a bit of fisting, but I would like to see Grey Knights, I would like to see some big changes, just to make them more interesting. Factions which are still relying on indexes are starting to feel a little stale. It's not they're lacking in power, it's a little stale. So that doesn't necessarily fix anything in a codex, because Orks are still running fucking Warhorde. They were running that at the beginning of the year, and Nids are still running Invasion Fleet. Speaking of which, here we go. Big Nids, 48% win rate. Hey, that's good. 8 people going 4-1. Praise be. Praise be. Look, yeah, I know Tyranids haven't won any tournaments, but we're seeing lots of people, lots of people go 4-1, which is good. And look at those Tyranid player numbers, man. Nature is healing. Tyranids should have been having those player numbers, being a starter box army. They've now recovered, they're back. We're finally seeing the second wave of Leviathan, and it is good. Now, in terms of what the community is doing, I mean, there's a little bit of variety. We've got like 9 people trying Synaptic Nexus, and that's doing okay. And 4 people are trying Crusher Stampede, and that's doing really badly. No one's running an Ending Swarm, because actually it's just an Ending Swarm now. Really, it's all about that Vanguard and that Invasion Fleet. Now, Invasion Fleet, not only was it the most popular detachment, but it actually fucking was the most powerful. I can't tell you, week in, week out, Invasion Fleet's got the most players, and its win rate's always in the fucking toilet. It's the comfy pair of slippers. But it looks like this week, and we'll have to keep an eye on it to make sure it's not an anomalous result. So this week, that Invasion Fleet has actually started to turn the franchise around, which is good. Because Invasion Fleet, you can kind of have the best of both worlds now. You can take sustained hits and everything, and then between like Hive Tyrants and Turvigons, you actually get a few units that can get lethal hits as well, if you choose to go down that route. Also, you just got extra strength in the silence range, which going for an extra strength can pip a lot of things into wounding on 6s to winning on 5s, winning on 5s to winning on 4s. Really helps with the anti-tank. And speaking of anti-tank, really fucking helps that the Tyrannofexes got good. I mean, you can run Tyranids. You can run Tyranids like a guard army. I'll take 3 Tyrannofexes. Oh yeah, that's like running 3 Rogel Dawns. I'll take a whole bunch of lethal hit Biovores. Oh yeah, it's like running guard artillery. And then I'll just take a bunch of shit to certain objectives. Turns out that after eating several billion humans, Tyranids worked out that it wasn't the Marines they should have been adapting. They needed to adapt to becoming the Emperor's true finest. In order to fight the ape, we must understand the ape. Frankly, I find the idea of an ape that thinks offensive. So yeah, Invasion Fleet doing good. I hope for all the Tyranid players' sake that this isn't a blip. I hope that Invasion Fleet is actually finally starting to mature and evolve and become into itself. But if it doesn't, there's definitely a backup option, which is Vanguard Onslaught. Oh, baby. 49%, 3 people going 4-1 and having comparable numbers to Invasion Fleet. People said when the Codex came out, these would be the best 2. Round and round in fucking circles, we've landed on the fact that these are the best 2. So, Tau, every time. I don't care if it's an old joke, I'm still going to do it. 49% win rate. In my opinion, that is 49% too high. Oh. We had 59 Tau players. Didn't even have the goddamn common courtesy to make it a funny number. And then 10 of them, 17%. Ugh. Went 4-1. Ugh. That's grim. Guys, the 6th expansion is coming, and my asshole is puckering. One person even won an event with Tau, which was about time. It was about time. There's been a few times when they've been threatening to do that. To be fair, actually, I think last time they won an event, it was with Retaliation Cadre, and they've done it again. So even though Retaliation Cadre has been really like, it started off really like weak, like high risk, high reward. Week in, week out, the Tau players have been committing to the Retaliation Cadre, and now look at this. It's become not only the most popular, has a really good win rate, had nearly the most people go 4-1, and won a tournament. Well done to that guy. Moving on to some of the other bits though, Kayun still consistently having a very, very high win rate, and 2 people each even going 4-1 with them. But Monka, which I personally think is the most powerful, 4 people go 4-1, which is good. 24 players as well. So it seems like in terms of the, it seems like Kalyon is consistently getting a very, very high win rate, but it seems like most people are still preferring to run Retaliation Cadre and Monka, which makes sense. So watch out for dem battlesuits, watch out for dem breaches, essentially. Hunting back, 2 brave, beautiful sons of bitches actually managed to do quite well. Now, I say that, one guy went 4-1, and one guy went 1-4. So, a little bit of a dichotomy there. Last, we have Imperial Knights. So, no, Crude Jail's not back. So, last we have Imperial Knights, and 51% win rate. 43 players and one dude, one crazy son of a bitch, managed to walk over ruins to a 4-1. Didn't win a tournament, but hey, 51% in line, 50%. Look, they're back. Custodes thought they were the gatekeepers. They merely adopted the gate. The Imperial Knights were born into it. They were molded by it. They never saw a top table until they were already a man. And by then it was nothing to them, but something. Anyway, point is if you bring enough anti-tanks, you beat them. If you don't bring enough anti-tanks, you don't beat them. Imperial Knights will make it all the way at some point in an Imperial Knight player's tournament journey. They're going to encounter someone that brought enough anti-tank. Or they're going to encounter someone that's brought enough close combat, or at some point they're going to encounter a Blood Angels player. That Blood Angels player is going to fist them with 30 Death Company, and then the Imperial Knight player will be very sad. Imperial Knights are good, but they've got a few very common hard counters, and that is why you're seeing them have a decent win rate, but not a very good 4-1 rate, and not a very good tournament win rate. Just do it! Let's do it! So, we have got the Space Wolves. Some cool shit going on with Space Wolves. So, firstly, they've dropped down from their usually quite oppressive top slot, where they have the highest win rate, but like no tournament wins. And now they've actually dropped down to 10th. They've got a 51% win rate. Which is in line with their average of 52%, and they actually won a tournament. Now, interestingly, diving into a little bit more, 13 players ran Champions of Russ, and they had a 60% win rate, and they had one guy go 4-1, but they didn't win a tournament. But it's just good. It's just such a breath of fresh air to see something other than Stormlands being run. Now, speaking of Stormlands, even if it's basically the same fucking list, it's just nice to see something that isn't Stormlands, right? Speaking of Stormlands, still the most popular, still got a very, very respectable win rate, and someone actually managed to win a tournament Stormlands as well. Someone won an event in Poland, 46 players, and he went 5-0. So well done to that guy. Stormland Space Wolf guy absolutely smashed it. So long story short, Space Wolf meta the majority of the time is the same shit, different day. But we are now at the very least seeing a bit of difference in the detachments that's being run. Now what I want to do is get my ass down to just play. When I get my ass down to just play, and I want to play against Space Wolf Alex, that's down there. You've seen him on a number of my after action reports. And I want to play a game with him. I want to play a battle pot with him, or I want to play in a tournament, just play a tournament with him. And I want him to run a good Champions of Rustless against me, because right now I'm seeing a lot of people taking it, but it's a bit of a blind spot when it comes to first-hand experience. So Alex, if you watch this, you've been actually reminding me to do a battle pot for ages, and I keep forgetting, man. So next time I'm down, I'm gonna organize. I'll speak to Isaac. We'll organize. We'll make it happen. All right. So yeah, because I'm seeing Champions Rust, but I need to on here, but I need to see it in real life. Necrons. It's kind of same shit, different day. 51% win rate is good. 62 player numbers, 62 player count is good. But only 3 people went 4-1. So the player numbers are still high, the win rate is still high, but the 4-1 rate is really low. For Necrons, I wonder, this is basically the same number of players that we see on an average weekend. So it's not actually really grown all that much. So when the relative number of players has gone up, but the same number of Necron players are being registered, that's actually almost like a decreased number of players in a weird sort of way. That makes sense? Someone who knows statistics will tell me better than that. But the point is I wonder if with Orks showing promise, with Tau showing promise, with Guard showing promise. I mean, there were more Guard players than Necron players. I wonder if we're seeing, if some of the Necron players are going back to sleep. If some of the Necron armies are going back on the shelf, and other armies are being run out by some of the competitive players. But 62, it very well may be just a slight dip this week. Keep an eye on the player numbers. That's the one to watch. In terms of results, Hypercrypt Legion remains the most successful and the most popular. 52% win rate for Hypercrypt Legion, 2 out of 3 4-1s with Hypercrypt Legion, and 40. So basically 2/3 of the players that ran Necrons ran Hypercrypt. So it's kind of like Invasion Fleet for Tyranids, right? Like it's still like the go-to for the average player. But we are seeing some interesting things for Awakened Dynasty. Silvertide, week in, week out, is matching Hypercrypt Legion for win rate. Now, it's not matching Hypercrypt Legion for 4-1, so we can presume that the majority of the players here are going 2-3, 3-2, all right? And it's not matching, it's matching it for win rate, it's not matching it for 4-1 rate, it's not matching it for player numbers, but week in, week out, Awakened Dynasty it's almost keeping Hypercrypt Legion honest. And this is the one I'm most interested in because it's the Silvertide one. And Silvertide is cool. Opsion's Phalanx, one dude ran it at Tacoma Open, managed to go 4-8 and went 50%. Good on him. Canoptic Court, the mighty keep on falling. The win rate is now the lowest. Someone went 4-1 with them, so that shows they've still got teeth, but the player numbers are really dwindling. I never thought I would see the day, never, when Canoptic Courts not only had less players than Awakened Dynasty, but had half the players of Awakened Dynasty. It seems like the court jury is in recess. It seems like the dynasties are awakening. Leagues of Cheese. Last week, Leagues of Votann were in the shitter. We suspected that it was probably just a bad week, although we did hypothesize that there were some factors that could have led to the demise of the Leagues of Votann. Turns out that it was just a bad week. Indeed, Rock and Stone, brothers, Rock and Stone. Turns out that it wasn't rock. It was just 1 week of soft clay. Now we're back to Rock and Stone. 51% win rate, really respectable win rate there. 5 people going 4-1, but no one quite being able to win the deal. I think that's close deal. I think that's reflection of that restricted roster that we've talked about so many times. And okay player numbers. Not great, not terrible. I would say relative to the size of the weekend, that is a very normal amount of Votann players. It seems like Votann have, and there's the occasional like bang down, but it seems like by and large, Votann are chugging along and they're still present. It's an army that clearly has a lot of power. It's an army that clearly it must have one or two very hard counters in the meta, like Knights. Knights are good until something just absolutely counters them. So I think Votann are probably in a weirdly comparable position to Imperial Knights, where they're going to flatten a lot of stuff they go into, but their 5-on-1 rate is their 4-on-1 rate is very respectable. There's always something at every tournament they can't handle. I genuinely can't remember the last time we saw a Leagues of Votann tournament win. I'm sure they've happened, and it probably happened like last week and I've just forgotten it or something, right? But probably wasn't last week, because last week was a bad week. I don't even know if they're local RTT winning or local GT winning. I think no matter where they go, they're 2-1. No matter where they go, they're 4-1. But they're not 5-0 or 3-0. That's my take on Votann. It's the same list. Couple of units of Exosuit guys, couple of units of wannabe Terminators, couple of small units in the Sagittars, Berserker unit, couple of units of the Bike guys. The same list. Occasionally, someone goes mad and throws. So occasionally, someone throws a Hecaton or two into the mix, and that does very well. But by and large, the Votann meta is fairly set. They are dying out for that second wave. Every week that goes past, they've not a second wave. Then we have Chaos Demons. Demon Save. Chaos Demons, it's the hot summer of chaos, and Chaos Demons are on the warpath. 52% win rate. Really, really good. And they had 43 players. Very, very strong boost in player numbers. And they had 9 people go 4-1, giving them what very well may be the highest 4-1 rate of the entire weekend. Amazing. Yeah, almost the second highest. Chaos Demons had the second highest number of people who proportionately out of their team that went 4-1. 21%. Only Sisters beat them with 23%. They even won a tournament. And I actually think that Demons are now a tournament winning faction. For the longest time, I said that Demons couldn't win a tournament. I was like, they're just monster mashing. There you go, not a bad tournament as well. 100 player, that's a major right there. 100 player Baltic Cup, 5-0 Chaos Demons. Very, very well played, that Chaos Demons player. And I've been saying this for a while. I think Chaos Demons have transitioned now. They've metamorphosized. They have evolved. All these other big words that I like to use that we barely understand. Photosynthesis. It was just Monster Mash. And now we are seeing try different things. We are seeing Mono Corn. We are seeing some of the other stuff out there. Bellacor's not quite, it's not Codex, it's not Index Bellacore anymore. It truly is Index Chaos Demons. Ever since Chaos Demons started throwing a bit more variety in there, and I'm not saying they weren't doing it on purpose before. I think they've now been given the tools for their toolbox. We've seen the win rate go up, we've seen the 4-1 rate go up, and we've seen them win tournaments. So I think Chaos Demons are a very, very, very relevant faction, a very meta faction right now, and I expect to see them in the top 10 for... There will always be the occasional week where things go wrong, but I expect to see Chaos Demons in the top 10 for a while. Coming in 6th, we have Black Templars. Hey! Black Templars, they may not be the undisputed best chapter of Marine anymore. In fact, they're definitely silver medalists. But Black Templars still showing us why they are an army you need to respect. 53% is very, very, very good win rate. One person was able to go 4-1 with them, though no one won a tournament. Only 15 players. And this, I think, is the sad thing about Black Templars. We've seen armies like Blood Angels, and we'll get to them in a moment, who have had an explosion in players. And And Black Templars for the longest time were the best chapter, and now they're definitely second best in terms of win rate, but they're like the least played, outside of Deathwatch obviously, the least played Space Marines. And I find that really a shame, because Black Templars are very, 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 very cool. But as someone who's played Black Templars for a long time and used to be involved in the Black Templar Bolter and Chainsword community, and you take part in their painting events, the Blood Angels and Black Templars always had a painting like grudge match in their equivalent of the TTC, and Blood Angels always won because they always had way more players. It's a sad fact of life that there are more Blood Angel players than there are Black Templars. But the Black Templars always accepted the challenge, and we're still seeing like 15 players is okay, but it's like the same amount of players as Admech, right? We don't think that's community's doing very well. Well, it's doing better, but the player numbers aren't really recovering. I think Black Templars are probably just suffering from staleness. They need a little injection. A little injection to make them do a little bit more interesting. Now, in terms of deep dive in the Black Templars, Righteous Crusaders remains the most popular, although it is not the most powerful detachment. You've got 9 Black Templar players who turned up. We had one guy run Firestorm Assault, went 3-2, which is pretty decent. 4 guys ran Gladius. Gladius is the new best way to run Black Templars. Yeah, Gladius with Dark Angels, Gladius with Black Templars if you want to win, but Righteous Crusaders if you don't want to be a pussy-o. One person even went 4-1 with Gladius, so genuinely well done to that guy. And respect these, joking aside, respect these guys who are hitting it hard with the Black Templars. Ironstorm, it's all over the place, man. It's because of such low player numbers. Like last week, I think Ironstorm was weirdly good, and this week it's like 38%. With one dude, it's like I don't really take the Firestorm Assault result seriously. I'm not taking the Ironstorm Assault result seriously. It's all about Gladius. It's all about Righteous Crusaders. World Eaters! Make it to the top 5. Oh, man. 53% win rate. 9 people went 4-1. No one won a tournament with them. 64 players. That's a lot of players. I never thought I would see the same number of Guard players as World Eater players. That is 64 people who ran Angron and 8-bound. I mean, that's it. That's it. You want to know what the new World Eaters meta is? It is Angron and it is 8-bound. Like back in 9th edition. In 9th, I think at the beginning of 9th, it was Angron and 8-bound, and then 10th we got Angron and Berserkers with some Jackals, and now we've come full circle. The circle is complete. The brass collar is complete, and we're back to Angron and 8-bound. You know what the biggest criticism I've heard about World Eaters recently? Not from me. It's from multiple people at the last tournament that I was at, the one where I went 5-0, who said I was like, people that I was like, oh, I thought you played World Eaters. Oh, I thought you were bringing your World Eaters. And everyone said, I'm just sick of running the same list. World Eaters are good. And you will go 4-1 with them. But it's a very, very limited roster. And we're seeing a lot of people move away from World Eaters to things like Chaos Demons, like Chaos Space Marines. Even if it's just for a week or two, even if they're just running their World Eaters as like Legionnaires, you know what I mean? Like, just to add a bit of fucking variety. And I don't blame them. But it is a hot summer of chaos, guys. Chaos Space Marines, most popular faction, smashing it on the competitive scene. Chaos Demons, really good player numbers, in ascendancy, and World Eaters doing well. The only Chaos faction that isn't doing that well is Chaos Knights, and they've still got phenomenal player numbers. And you might argue Death Guard aren't doing as well, but if you look at it, every single Chaos faction is in the Goldilocks zone. We are in the summer of chaos, and I think we're seeing the 14th Black Crusade. This summer is the 14th Black Crusade. There you go. Coming in 4th place, just missing out on a podium slot. I think it was last week's top dog, the Blood Angels. These guys are the best Spacemarine chapter right now, and you are only going to see their popularity go up. Until they get nerfed, you are only going to see the popularity go up. Their 55% win rate. 8 people went 4-on-1. 1 person won a tournament. How big was it? Have a look. Finland, 47 players, 5 rounds. A very, very good size GT. So we've got 55% win rate. 8 people going 4-on-1. 1 person going 5-0. 46 players. There are literally 3 times as many Blood Angel players as there are Black Templar players. Out of those 46 players, 43 of them, including, I think, everyone who went 4-on-1 and the guy that won the tournament went Sons of Sanguinius. These 3 guys just got lost on the way to Baal. Stormlands guy, Red Stormlands guy, Red Ironstorm guy, and Gladiator Task Force guy. They all got fucking filled in at the Stormlands guy did okay, but Ironstorm guy, Gladiator Task Force guy, they got wrecked. Red Stormlands guy managed to go 3-2, which is good, but that is an unprecedented skew. Unprecedented. 90+% of people that ran Blood Angels ran Sons of Sanguinius, which is amazing and is the way it should be. Now, I actually have insight into how Blood Angels work. So they take 4 bricks. Now, these bricks tend to be Death Company, but you can mix them up. And they take 4 bricks. And each one of these bricks is 10 strong, with as much damage to as can be physically crammed into them. So when I was playing alongside someone at the team tournament who had Blood Angels, he had 3 units. I think it was 3 units of Death Company. Every single one of them, Power Fists and Inferno Pistols. And then he had a 4th brick, which I can't remember what it was, but I don't think it was Sanguinary Guard or anything like that. I think it was... I don't know, and I wouldn't want to guess. But my point is that Blood Angels are winning. And I'm not mad in the slightest. I'm not... Genuinely, there's no soul whatsoever. I am loving it. Because they are winning exactly the way they should be winning. Jump packs, Power Fists, Death Company. That's how it should be done. That's how it's being done. Blood Angel players, you keep on trucking, boys. The guards behind you, we're supporting you. Because being rewarded for playing the way you should play, best fucking feeling in the world, boys. Blood Angel players, well done, lads. Sisters of Battle! Probably the new best top faction. Definitely one of 2 inheritors of the meta. This is a battle. We saw 48 players. That's a big jump. I think last week it was like 27. So that's a big jump. 55% win rate. Nice. 11 people, 23%. That is the highest percentage of players who ran Sisters who went 4-on-1. They didn't win any tournaments though. Oh. That's surprising. But they did. They had a really good player numbers, really good 4-on-1 rate, really good win rate, and out of the 48 players, it's a little bit like Blood Angels, right? Out of 48 players, 40 of them ran Bringers of Flame. Bringers of Flame, those that you don't know, give every single weapon in your army assault, and every assault weapon, so every single one of them, gets +1 strength in 12 inches. Yeah, it's fucking dumb. I think it's every single weapon is every single flame or melter weapon. Anyway, point is, it's the weapons that matter, right? I think what we're seeing with multiple factions at this point is a codex comes out and there's one good detachment and there's a bunch of shite ones. You could probably go. Let's go through. Sisters of Battle. Everyone's running Bringers of Flame. Blood Angels. Everyone's running Sun Sanguinius. Black Templars. The majority are running Righteous Crusaders, but there are some Gladius. Necrons. Everyone's running Hypercrypt. Space Wolves. Actually 50-50. One exception. Tau. 2 good detachments. Retaliation, Cadre, and Monka. Tyranids. 2 good detachments. Space Marines. Everyone's fucking running Renegade Raiders. Admech. Everyone's running Qatari Hunter Cohort. Orks. Bit of variety. Most people bring in Warhorde. Dark Angels. Everyone's running Gladius. Custodies. Literally everyone is running Shield Host. Space Marine. Most people are running Gladius. PSC, not enough to tell. So there are. It's like 1 or 2 good detachments. Most factions have 1 good detachment. Some factions have got 1 good one and 1 that's good enough that it's worth running as a palette cleanser and it's interesting enough to get some wins with. Yeah. Basically, fuck all ran Penitent Host and Army of Faith, Hallowed Martyrs. I have a lot of people telling me that Sisters need another round of nerfs. Sisters players, I'd start investing in Ordo Hereticus detachments if I were you. I've heard there's going to be there's probably going to be a bit of an Eldar treatment going on. A few rounds to knock them down because they are, even though they didn't win a tournament this week, it's a high win rate with a lot of people going 4-1. Then we get to Sisters of Battle take the bronze medal. Silver medalists. Drukhari. This is the second week Drukhari have been in the top 3. I think last week they were top, weren't they? Dark Elder Meta Incoming, I believe, was the title of my Metawatch video. Catch you later, Creepo. Catch you later, man. 56% win rate. So 4 people went 4-1 or better. 1 person won a tournament. 23 players in total. Every motherfucker in the room ran Sky Splinter Assault. Gentlemen, are Drukhari a problem? 42 player event in Canada. 5 rounds. A good sized GT. Are Drukhari a problem? I certainly think it could be argued so. Ever since Sky Splinter Assault came out, they have had a minimum of a 50% win rate. And it has slowly crept up until it's sort of broken through the dam. It's burst through the dam. And now we're a couple of weeks in a row where they are on a 56 or something like that win rate. I think Drukhari need reining in. Because you're getting... the player numbers aren't a problem. And the tournament win rate's not a problem. But the regular win rate is. I think that's the problem. Yeah. Whether it's pointy ears or pointy ears and nipple clamps, space elves are a problem. I think we've given. I don't want anyone thinking I'm just shitting on Drukhari now that they've finally broken out. We've been giving them the benefit of the doubt and been giving them the goodwill for a long time now, like since Sky Splinter Assault came out. I think we've reached the end of that, and next Balanced Data Slate, I would like to see Drukhari toned down. Just a bit. Codex release pending, because if we get a couple of codex that come out that hard counter them, then it's no dramas. Fine. Called it! Send me to the black ships! I called it. I legitimately was I was like the first person to call this. Okay, probably not the first person. I've been calling this 3 months. 4 months. When was Adepticon? I've been calling it since Adepticon. 4 months ago. Thousand Suns, I said, were the inheritors of the meta. I said that they were an incredibly strong army, which had been very strong since the beginning of the edition, and there had just been other people other factions which had kind of been masking how powerful they were and had been kind of covering up how powerful they were. But you just noticed week in, week out, Thousands were always in the top, always doing well. But they're never the top. They're never like the top 4, top 5. They're always in the top 8 though. And slowly, but I said that these guys are the ones to watch. And it wasn't like Barak where I just said the same shit. You say you say something enough, eventually it becomes true. Like no, but I want to be clear. I want to say a big thank you to a friend of mine called Mike, who I went to Adepticon with, who on the way back when we were sat in the airport pub, I was like, what faction do you think is top right now? And he went, Thousand Sons. And he took me through. He said, everyone's sleeping on them right now. He said, some of the people have been coming up with crazy combos for them. And I've been finding just some insane like power, and there's just a lot of potential there. And he said, I've been chatting to people this weekend, you know, like some very competitive groups who have just been like, we need to start getting on Thousand Sons. And yeah, so big thank you to Mike for that. And he didn't give any specifics away, and that's important to mention. He didn't give any specifics away because a lot of competitive players are very cagey about like what lists that they're working on, because the moment that they win an event with a list, it's out there, and then everyone else starts running that list, and other very good players start running that list, and it might be that they then struggle to like, you know, it starts making it harder to win with that list. It's kind of like, like sports teams will hide their training and hide their like strategies. You know, Formula One teams, all the different like engine designs and car designs and everything, because it matters to hide that stuff because it can give you an edge on the battlefield, and when it's on the racetrack or pitch, and when that stuff's out, it's the same. It could, you know, everyone can jump on it. So so Mike just basically said that's the one to watch, and then that's the one that we have been watching, and it is not surprising to me in the slightest that Thousand Sons are now up there on top of the podium. They just have Magnus does a horrendous amount of damage and is phenomenally tough. Mutileth Vortex Beasts can tank. Mutileth Vortex Beasts are phenomenally tough, and their damage output is respectable enough, but really they just absorb all the damage. And then you've got just really solid infantry, man. Like, everyone is shooting out fucking mine bullets. And they've got the Cabal points are amazing. Like 19 Cabal points is like solid. That's what people aim for, man. And basically you have like the few big beasties running at you, and by the time you've dealt with them, because they're so tough, by the time you've dealt with them, you've got nothing left, and you've got to try and deal with rubrics, which are no pushover, because like a 5 pin run. 3 up, 5 up, nothing to complain about. Thousand Sons, 57% win rate, 4 people going 4 and 1, 34 players, and they are looking very, very spicy. 121 wins out of 211 games played. Do I think, yes, no tournament wins, fair play. You could definitely criticize them for that. But this win rate is really hard, because even if you're not winning tournaments, it means that a lot of people are getting crushed under the dusty jackboot of the Thousand Sons. Gentlemen, this is the Meta Made Manifest, and that was another week in the competitive meta. Okay, let us now wrap the stream up. Big thank you to all of you guys for your patience. Big thank you to all of your support. I'm a little tired. You know what? I'm looking forward to next stream. And as always, see you guys next time. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and Patreons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full-time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bon Bon Vert, Lord Pryor, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, and August Barney. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.